Good evening, Phoenix. The final totals you're seeing on your screen are correct. Michigan beats Arizona 91-73. The Wolverines advance to the national championship game, where they'll face the UConn Huskies on Monday night. And with that, welcome into this special edition of 12 Sports Locker Room right here on 12 Plus. Jake Garcia alongside Doug Franz, host of the Doug Franz Unplugged podcast. Doug, this Final Four was billed as a heavyweight matchup, and instead, Arizona got punched in the mouth in the first half, and they never recovered. Your immediate takeaways from a blowout of a Final Four?
I know nothing. That's what my immediate takeaway was. Is I was the one all year saying Arizona was the best team in the country. I'll still stay with that if we're looking at it from a resume standpoint. I think their resume of wins in the non-conference is more impressive than the actual resume of Michigan. But if you're just looking at the play on the court, it's not even close, and the score is not indicative. The beatdown was much bigger. It was right from the beginning, and I would say where I'm really shocked is the inability of U of A stars to really get going. And I credit that to Michigan's defense, because you can't say, well, they're freshmen. Well, they've been freshmen all year and they've been fantastic. This is where you give all credit to Michigan.
And you pretty much go down the board. Arizona was outplayed in pretty much every capacity. Everything they did tonight was their season worst. They never led at any point in this game. 16-point halftime deficit was their largest deficit of the season. The 90-plus points they allowed, the most they had allowed all year long. And so what we're about to say is not to say that Arizona could have changed the outcome of this game, but you still took exception with something Tommy Lloyd did early in the game against Michigan's best player.
I thought they really made a mistake at one point in this game. If you didn't get a chance to see the whole game or didn't write down little things. But Lenneborg is one of the best players in college basketball, and he was ranked as the best player in the Big Ten. He got his second foul of this game at the 18-minute mark. That is a massive opportunity for U of A to take advantage of. Well, Dusty May took him out of the game. That's the Michigan head coach. He takes Lenneborg out. Makes sense. But at the 13-minute mark, Lenneborg came back in the game, and U of A did not go on the attack at all. And Lenneborg scored another 5 points, had a rebound, and had a steal in a small window of time before he stepped on Krivas' foot and messed up his ankle and was out of the game. That was a missed opportunity to pick up that third foul on Lenneborg and then attack other players. Michigan had 3 players inside the 10-minute mark of the first half with 2 fouls. And the offense for U of A did not change, did not go on the attack. And the only point that was working was Krivas and the little baby hook.
Right.
And they went away from Krivas. Now, all of my complaints changed the outcome to the point of U of A loses by 10 or 15, instead of the final score of 18 and at one point down by well over 20. So it's a big point. I think it's a big mistake, but Michigan would have won anyway.
Right, and bringing up the Lenneborg foul trouble, U of A got exactly the scenario that you were hoping for with him taken out of the game.
Absolutely.
It's for a different reason, not because of the foul trouble, but because of injuries, and the Wildcats still couldn't take advantage of that. How do you think that Michigan managed without their best player for a huge stretch of the first half? And then how did Lenneborg come back in the game and seem to shake off like 17 different leg injuries?
I don't know why he was even playing, because they had such a big lead. I would have said, you sit down and you get ready for Monday against UConn. But to your specific question, what blew me away is Arizona's struggling with the length of Michigan. Every team this year has struggled with the length of Michigan, but I thought the one team that wouldn't was going to be Arizona.
Because they play bully ball. They've bullied teams all year long, but they couldn't bully them tonight.
And that was the one thing. I didn't realize Michigan was long and strong.
Yeah.
I knew they were long, but they did not get moved off. And if you were watching really closely, there were a lot of balls that would get tipped and be loose on the floor. A lot of balls that would be tipped up high, like rebounds that would normally be tipped out to Bradley for a reset of the shot clock and a reset of an opportunity to score. In this game, all of those tip outs and all of those loose balls went to Michigan. I wouldn't necessarily say Michigan out-hustled Arizona. I'm going to be more insulting. They outmanned them. They out-toughed them, if you allow me to make up words. Because what happened in this game is Michigan's length was able to attack everything that happened, and all of the balls that would kind of bounce Arizona's way during the season were not happening because the Michigan length was something Arizona couldn't handle.
And speaking of that Michigan length, the leading scorer tonight for the Wolverines, Ade Mara, 26 points, 11 of 16 shooting. Let's bring up some of the final totals now from this game. But Doug, U of A had absolutely no answer for Mara. He was a menace down low. And it's weird to say that because U of A's strength are their big guys. It's Koa Peat, it's Krivas, and yet tonight, Michigan just outmuscled them in every single capacity. We were talking about this before the show off air. The other discrepancy that you're seeing right here on this board, 22 assists for Michigan and 5 for Arizona. You're not going to win a lot of games when you have that discrepancy.
My favorite stat in college basketball is assist to turnover ratio. So look at line 2 and then look at line 4. What that assist to turnover ratio means is it's your ball movement versus their ball movement and your defensive activity versus their defensive activity. To actually have a 1-to-3 basically assist to turnover ratio is outrageously bad. And then go up one line, look at the field goals compared to the assists. Can you see how much one-on-one ball there was for Arizona when only 5 of those 26 field goal makes were assisted? While look at Michigan. The 11 field goal makes that were not assisted were more than likely live ball turnovers that they caused from Arizona and came down the court and were able to hit easy layups. That is straight sheer domination of a basketball game on both ends of the floor.
And that speaks directly to the quality of guard play that we saw tonight. Michigan's Elliot Cadeau didn't have a great night from the field, but he still managed 10 assists. I think the broadcast showed someone's tweet up on the board at halftime, and it said, "This is the best 4 of 14 shooting performance I've ever seen," because he was still all over the court. He was playing great defense, and he was dishing to teammates constantly. And then on the flip side, Braden Berry's had a rough night.
Yes, he did.
You said earlier this wasn't freshman inexperience. This was just being outplayed. Where did things go wrong for the Arizona guards tonight?
I have to give a lot of credit to Michigan and Dusty May and his staff, because what I saw tonight was a defensive strategy that not a lot of teams did this year. And that was going into the game. They declared to the world that Braden Berry's is the best player on U of A. A lot of teams have tried to have a little bit of a notion of, we'll do this to Krivas, we'll do this to Peat, we'll do this to Berry's, we'll do this to Bradley. And Michigan was different. Michigan said, no matter what happens in this game, this young man is not going to hurt us. And by doing that, it forced everybody else to do something. And Bradley, he was not able to raise his game. And the thing that was really interesting is I thought Koa Peat, right around about the 12-minute mark, maybe 8-minute mark of the first half, he started to take over. He started to be a tough one and say, I'm going to drive it right down everybody's throat. And it started to create some offensive opportunities, and Michigan shifted and then attacked him. And they were just moving their guys and their pieces in a focal point of, we're going to totally dominate one player and see if everybody else can beat us. And the answer was only one could, and that was Mo Krivas. And for some reason, and I can't understand it, Tommy Lloyd didn't force-feed Krivas the ball.
Let's talk about Peat here for a second, because he's the local guy here from Perry High School. Phenomenal freshman season of college basketball that he just played. Likely a one-and-done as well. What is his lasting contribution to this U of A team? And then going forward, what do you see in his professional career in the NBA?
No matter what happened tonight, and this was embarrassing. I don't have the stat in front of me, but I would have to guess this is the worst beatdown of a number 1 seed in the history of college basketball. I don't know the numbers. I might be making that up. So from that standpoint, this hurts, and it should hurt for a long time. But your first question, this is still a Final Four team.
Yep.
So his lasting example and his lasting gift to this team is lifting U of A back to a Final Four, and it might be finding a coach long term, because this coach got young talent from Phoenix, Arizona to come to U of A, play great, and go to a Final Four. So that could open back the train down the 10 to get more of that talent to choose U of A more often, and Tommy Lloyd getting the long contract extension. So those are kind of things where it's a long-term effect. The second part of your question, when we look at the NBA, his shot has to get a lot better. He's not an NBA jump shooter yet, and in the NBA, everybody's a jump shooter. But I'm going to say something which is one of those takes that
Yep.
this will fly in my face a few years from now and everyone's going to go ballistic and mock me forever. I am not projecting, but if I am comparing a player right now of Peat at U of A, I see not a Celtic, but a Duke Jason Tatum is what I see.
Okay.
Now, Jason Tatum was a decent shooter at Duke and developed into a fantastic shooter with the Celtics' opinion of, we shoot threes here. Go practice it. Go get it. Peat has a great work ethic. Tatum's work ethic is legendary. So if Peat's work ethic is legendary, I don't think it's crazy to see a little bit of Jason Tatum in his future.
And we saw the body transformation for Peat when he went from senior at Perry, kind of tall, skinny, lanky, to 1 year of a college strength and conditioning program.
Right.
And he blew up. So now, with that logic in mind, take that from, the jump shot that he has now, coached up by the NBA coaching staff, he could potentially turn into the type of player that you're talking about. All right, Doug, final question for you. Did we just watch the best team in college basketball tonight? Will Michigan beat UConn in the national championship on Monday?
I am not smart enough in the game of basketball to figure out what you do to beat that Michigan team or to say what UConn can do. Now, keep in mind, in the 84, I think it was championship, might have been 85, but I think it was 84. No, it was 85. Sorry that I'm bouncing back and forth. Villanova missed one shot in the second half, and they shot 74% from the field, okay? Anything can happen. The 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team had no business beating Russia, and they did. So anything can happen. However, I don't see how it can. UConn has to hit threes like they've never shot before. They've got to be on fire everywhere, not get into foul trouble, and that's just asking a lot. Because keep in mind, to your point from early on when we first started, Michigan did all this without Lenneborg. I mean, that's incredible to take a Big Ten Player of the Year away and you win anyway.
And in case you're just joining us, what Doug's referring to, Michigan star forward Yaxel Lenneberg sidelined by an ankle injury at one point in the first half. It was initially unclear if he was going to even return to the game. He did end up coming back to start the second half. And boy, he was big for Michigan in the second half. There was a thought that maybe if U of A could cut the deficit to 10 at the 10-minute mark, that things would start to look a little bit differently. But Lenneberg quickly evaporated all those plans. He hit a couple threes, and the rest was history. Let's bring up what we're going to be looking for on Monday night between Michigan and UConn. 5:50 tip. TBS, True TV is where you can watch the game. Michigan looking like a powerhouse right now after the beatdown of Arizona. Meanwhile, UConn, no slouch of a team in and of itself. They took down Illinois earlier today. Illinois was pesky, but it seemed like UConn had that game in control throughout. Dan Hurley, of course, making his third trip to a national championship game in the past 4 years. Doug, as we get your final thoughts here, that Hurley can coach up some ball players. Why does UConn continue to produce, dominant March team after dominant March team?
What he's fantastic at is continually improving the team throughout the regular season. And he's brilliant at finding out more strengths, more weaknesses, elevating those weaknesses, playing to those strengths. So he not only is great, obviously, at bringing in talent, and every player sees, wow, I can get to a Final Four if I go to UConn. So he's bringing in great talent. But the thing that he has always been the master of is player movement on offense. The sets that he runs. Take a look at U of A today. How many times did you see somebody for Arizona going one-on-one and you end up with a 5-assist ball game? At UConn, people are moving everywhere offensively, and that makes it so hard to guard. Then you add players that can hit threes as bigs, obviously Caravan being number one. When you have that combination, you've heard this every time you watch the Suns. Spacing, spacing, spacing. UConn combines spacing with player movement and then a third element, and that's toughness. You're not going to out-tough UConn. So you put those three things together, that's what makes them hard to beat, and guess who's better at all three? Michigan. So all credit to Danny Hurley, but I think the Wolverines are cutting down nets.
It's almost as if Doug tuned into Dan Hurley's postgame press conference. Those were his exact words.
I did not know that.
He said we're a tough basketball team, and it might offend some people, but the team takes pride in its toughness, and they take pride in doing everything intentionally. He said that they're not just going out there, chucking up a few shots and hoping they go in. There's a method to it. There's a reason for everything that they do. It's shown up in a big way the past 4 years. He'll have his hands full Monday night against Michigan. He's Doug Franz. As always, spitting truth here on the 12-plus digital stream.
Like when I said U of A is the best team in college basketball. That's the truth.
We don't have those receipts on 12-plus. Those exist on linear television only. Doug, we appreciate the time. Tough night for the Arizona Wildcats. They fall to Michigan in the Final Four, 91-73. Koa Peat likely done with his career at U of A, a phenomenal freshman year, but it comes up just short of the national championship game. Again, Arizona falling to Michigan 91-73.